Yeah, please let me know if I do cut in and out. I'm just not in the best spot. Unfortunately, I got held late at a firefighter training in the middle of nowhere, Stewart's Point, Skag Springs. So anyway, I was going to give a 15-minute talk, and I titled it "How to Be Informed," because I think, as was just mentioned, there's some comfort in having knowledge and being able to make your own decisions. And we've had some recent fires, the one on Saturday on Chemise Road, 4th of July on Geysers Road. And so there's been some fires. And so how can maybe before the day comes when the fire happens, how do you know what days are maybe more possible a fire is going to happen? And when a fire happens, an emergency happens, how can you get the information? So that's what I'm putting together. And it kind of ties in line with every whatever, not what everybody, but what the county of Sonoma is doing. And that, if you look at the blue box here, it's about, hey, this is all the stuff before the emergency. We're going to try to prevent every emergency, but we got to be prepared. We got to get ready. Then the emergency is going to happen. How do we get that information, or what do you do? And then the last phase is after the emergency, which I'm not going to talk about all today, but it ties in with this get ready. And also, what do we do at the emergency? And this is also, just as a reminder, a great website to have and go to, because as the incident continues in time and systems get built and everything else, the county website is definitely a good reference to get the information. So I've broken it down into before the incident and then the initial stages or initial phases of an incident. Usually after the initial stages, the facts become more well-known, systems get developed, and information becomes easier to obtain. The situation, as far as what the emergency is doing, gets better communicated. So I think a lot of the frustration or the chaos is right when the incident happens because we don't know the facts. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So this is about before the emergency. And this is all wildland specific because we're in wildland season. And so I don't know how my internet's going to work, but these 5 things, you can go to the fire weather websites and get the same information that the firefighters get. So you would know potentially 5 to 7 days ahead of a wind event or a lightning storm that, hey, firefighters are paying attention to, or the National Weather Service is paying attention to. So you wouldn't be caught off guard by the news or the hype of, it's going to get really warm and windy. Well, what does that really mean? The second is the vegetation, and I'll take you to where the firefighters go to get that information, and I'll show you how earlier this year we were saying, hey, we were 2 months ahead of schedule. We were 2 months ahead. We were getting June conditions in April, and so I'll show you that. And then a big concern is the PG&E, which was a typo there, the public safety power shutoffs, where you can get that information, so you don't have to wait for PG&E to notify you. You would know that they're considering shutting off power. It's already been talked about by Nancy, but the evacuation zones, everybody should know that, or where to go to know what zone they're in, so they're not caught off guard by some numerical system they never heard of before. And then just a quick thing about the government, and I call it the government because it's the official notification systems, which Watch Duty is not. It's a great tool, but it's not technically government. So I'll just recap the government alert and warning systems, and it's mainly specific to Sonoma County. So the next website just kind of go into this information a little bit more. So the National Weather Service, as the name somewhat implies, is the weather experts. So what we see on the news, like Channel 2, Channel 5, whatever it might be, a lot of their information comes from the National Weather Service, comes from their modeling. And so unique to this year is Sonoma County's been broken up into more specific zones. So to the east of us is the 504 zone. That's the geysers and the mountains that we border with Lake County. We have the valley floor below 1,000 feet roughly, and that's the 506. So you guys can see, like, Pitch Mountain is considered to be in the valley floor, not the mountains. That's 506. And then to the west of us is the 503. Prior to this year, the 503, which is being shown as the 503 and the 504 zones, were all the same zones. So a red flag that was maybe more specific to Mount St. Helena and the geysers would also carry over into the areas west of us. So it's an improvement. It gives much more detailed information about where the red flag is. However, I could also see now confusion where we only have a red flag and a 504. So maybe people say, well, it doesn't apply to me. I can have a campfire. I can do whatever because I'm not technically the red flag. Well, yeah, they're right. But we've seen historically and more recent history is that our fires tend to start in the 504 by an offshore wind event and get pushed down into the 506. So even though you're technically not in a red flag warning area, we need to consider or treat it as if you were in a red flag warning, not just from the prevention point of view, but more importantly, from the preparedness point of view. And so this website here, I'm going to see if it's going to work, will take you to just a good site to look at if you want to know. And you guys got to tell me, is this showing up properly, the website, or is it still on PowerPoint? Is anybody?
PowerPoint.
Okay, so I got to stop share for a minute and get the right screen. So this is the website that takes you, and you can zoom around, you can zoom in to our area, and this will tell you if we're in a red flag or not. So I'm waiting for it to load. It's loading slowly. I think everyone recognizes our area. If there is a red flag or a fire weather watch, it'll be colored. It'll be colored red or it'll be colored orange. We don't have red flag warning, so we're not going to see that coming. But this is how you can get the same information firefighters are going to get. And you might even get it before the firefighters get it, because most firefighters rely upon an email or something to notify them rather than going online. So that real quick, you can see up here, there is a red flag warning right now up near the California-Oregon border in the Lassen Modoc area. So that's what a red flag warning looks like. My internet is not the best, but if I clicked on one of these zones, it would give me more detailed information. So right now we don't know if that red flag is because of lightning or is it because it's very windy. I could click on that, it would give me that information. So the point here is, this is where you can get the same information firefighters get at the National Weather Service. I'm going to show you another National Weather Service website here in the next slide. Let me go back to share screen of that PowerPoint so you guys can see it. So that's a website I just took you to. And then here is another website that I like to use. This is the technical information. This is called the area forecast discussion. So I'm going to go to this website. I'll get it shown on the screen for you guys here in a minute. And hopefully you guys can see that. I'll make it big. Well, I don't know if you guys can read it. I could try to make it bigger, but this is like, I call it the pass down notes. This is what the weather forecaster tells next weather forecaster that's coming on shift, a kind of a chronological log. So this is where I go to get some of my advanced information about if there's any issues this week. And so you can see monsoonal moisture, lightning potential is moving northward from Southern California to Central California with mid-level moisture and instability present. A slight chance of thunderstorms for southern Monterey County and the southern portion of San Benito County. In addition, the monsoonal moisture will bring an increase in mid-level clouds today and Tuesday. Very slight cooling trend this week with continued warm to hot conditions across the interior. And then there's something about sneaker waves. I won't read that unless you guys are going to the beach. So this is where you just can go to get information. So this is a quick summary. Down here, it talks about thunderstorms. Reading through this is the Monterey/San Francisco office. So it's based out of Monterey. So this covers a huge area from the Mendocino County line all the way down to the Monterey-San Luis Obispo County line. So when you hear maybe the media, Bay Area talk about lightning, here's the real deal. The National Weather Service doesn't think the lightning is going to come into our area. So that's a very low probability. If there's a chance of some significant winds later this week, very warm conditions, potential red flag, you will start seeing mention of that perhaps 7 days ahead of time. So that's why when I say, hey, there's talk about a red flag in 7 to 10 days, this is usually where I get that type of information. So this is all stuff you have access to, just like anybody has access to, just a good website to go to, kind of to get the real factual information about what the National Weather Service is looking at. So with that being said, I'll go back into the PowerPoint now.
So Marshall, I'm dropping these links into the chat so people will have them.
Okay, great. And I can put this PowerPoint out to you guys too.
Excellent.
I'm not going to go to this. I'm not going to go to this website because I have the graph here showing. So we've been talking about the weather, what the weather's going to be. Well, here's about the vegetation, about the things that burn in a wildland fire. And so it's at what's called the Northern California Geographic Area Coordination Center. We call it the GAC. If you hear about the GAC or you hear somebody talk about Redding, Redding or the GAC is in charge of all of Northern California, Bay Area North, for all the agencies, all the land management agencies, which is CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Bureau of Land Management. All those agencies are controlled out of Redding, out of the GAC. We happen to be in the NC02, so North Coast 02 area. And the specific models that I like to look at or measurements are the energy release component, and this is the fuel. So those are our big logs, greater than 3 inches in diameter. They're really indicative of our drought conditions. So this is the ERC graph, energy release component graph for yesterday, July 16th. I'll show you more of these graphs here in a little bit, but you can see across the bottom is the calendar year, a numerical system, and this varies as far as what the scale is here, but this happens to be 0 to 75. The gray line is the average historical line, and you can see it kind of swings upward in summer and then eventually tapers off in the fall into winter. Red is the maximum value ever recorded for that day. So this is not all in the same year. That's just the maximum ever recorded. So when you look back right here, late March, early April of 2022, we set a record value right here. So we set a record right here. So blue is our current year. So the rains that happened, the cool weather right around the 4th of July really dropped us well below average. And now we're coming back up above average. The first horizontal line here is the 90th percentile, which has a value of 53. So that in theory means that only 10% of the time are we above the 90th percentile. And then here's the 97th percentile, which has a value of 60. It's only 3% of the time that we're above the 97th percentile. So our current value as of yesterday was 48.6. This value here, which is above our average, but well below any extreme, well below the 90th percentile. The more warm days we get, the more this will continue to go upward and upward. So it's kind of somewhat common sense. The more consecutive warm days we have, the more our vegetation, the fuels become dry, the more energy they can release, the more harder it is for firefighters to put a fire out. So take you back in time a little bit. This is February 11th this year. The same type of graph, 90th percentile, 97th percentile, maximum ever recorded for that day is the red line, average is the gray line. And you can see as we had that winter drought, we were getting very near setting records for how dry our vegetation was, which then directly relates to how much energy, how much heat the vegetation will release, how hard it will be for us to control. So think about a campfire producing, that's energy release. And so you heard me talk about it, you heard the media talk about it. I was quoted in the press saying that on February 11th, if you draw a horizontal line here shown in dashed yellow, that's equivalent to what we would normally June 4th. So that became I want to say the hype, because it's actually factual. We were 3 to 4 months ahead of schedule. We had reason to believe without any rain events that this blue line would continue to go up and up and up and set records. And so this is that fire now. This trend line that goes up here is shifting more and more back into earlier parts of the calendar year. So that's why we were saying that, hey, we were 3 to 4 months ahead of schedule. It's going to be an early fire. Now, really, the way more appropriately is our grass is going to be green pretty much in the spring, no matter what. It's just how quickly it dries in May or June. But this is really the forest fire potential. How dry are our forests? So that's what this is showing. Here's a larger graph of where we're at now. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into it again, but we can expect this to go up. Hopefully we get another cooling trend and it'll dip back down. Be great to get a rain event, because that's pretty much what we're seeing here. These are rain events. When it bottoms out, drops down. So that's what happened after that February 11th. We got some moisture, got some rain. Remember, the other indice I like to look at is the 1,000-hour. So these are our big logs. They're indicative of drought. And you kind of can see, if I put these two graphs side by side, that when the fuel moisture, the blue line, and so this is a reverse now. You got the 97th percentile here, 90th percentile here. The red is the historic low value, the lowest value for that day. And the blue line is for this year, 2022. So anytime it rain moisture, you see the blue line, the value for this year go up. So it goes above the average line. When it gets dry, the blue line drops. So this is what we're seeing. Here, this is really indicative of our shorter days becoming longer days, more sun, more drying. So see here, and you can see right now, to fast forward to where we're at now, we're getting down to our average dryness in our big logs. And you can see the ERD value goes up as the 1,000-hour fuels go down. So that's the facts. That's where we're at. That's the impact of drought. And we know that the fall period, this is our biggest vulnerable period. PG&E power safety shutoffs. I think many of you have probably seen this website. This is something, a good tool to go to. I'm going to get it shared here in a minute for you guys, but a good tool to go to see if PG&E turning off power in the upcoming days. And it's loading very slowly on my computer right now, so I'm waiting for it to load before I share it. Might be indicative of my my internet speed right now. And this would give a 7-day forecast of if PG&E is thinking about shutting power off. And so it's finally loading now. Hold on, I got to get it to fully load before I can share it with you guys. So here we go, get it to share, hopefully. This is what the PG&E looks like. And so you can click on all these days, no expected power shutoffs. This would look a lot different if there was an upcoming red flag. You would start seeing notification of power public safety shutoffs, and also a map. And I could go to the map here, but I'm not going to because my internet's not the best right now. They also have their own write-up down here about the weather, which you see down here. It should pretty much align with the National Weather Service. These are PG&E's own meteorologists, and that's who makes the decision whether they're going to shut power off. That's PG&E. And so my intent here is you guys wouldn't be surprised if PG&E plans to shut off power in 3 to 4 days. The County of Sonoma, a lot of other agencies through Nixle and Facebook and other things are really great about getting the information out. But if you wanted to check every so often, or you were worried, this would be the site to go to. And that link, I think, Priscilla put in the chat. So with that, I'll go back to my PowerPoint.
Hey, Marshall, while you're doing that,
yep.
I would just add, I'm hoping that everybody signed up for PG&E alerts, because you should get something on your phone that tells you when there's an anticipated power outage. And they want to know that, as well as any medical issues that you might have, so that they can support you better in getting that information to you.
And that's, Priscilla, you want to describe that's at that same PG&E website?
Yes.
I'll cover this one quickly because it's already been covered very well by Nancy. This is the evacuation zones. This link at the top up here is for the County of Sonoma, and then the 3 incorporated cities that are in northern Sonoma County. Windsor has their own zones. Windsor, Hillsburg, and then Cloverdale. If you look real quickly, you can see some of the terminology as far as the numbering. 2 means that's the sheriff, beat 2. So pretty much anything northern Sonoma County starts with a 2. So if you hear a 1, that's normally stuff to the west of us. And if you hear a 4 or a 3, that's normally stuff to the south of us. So that kind of at least gives you maybe some mind. Don't need a 2 in the beginning as far as the zone number. Definitely pay attention, but it's not an immediate fire in one of our areas. So the cities are a little bit different, but if you hear or see a 2, that's the first number, that's northern Sonoma County. So that's shown here in the reds, the tans, oranges, and such. And then I won't go into this for the sake of time, but this is where you want to go to the County of Sonoma, socoemergency.org. This is where you sign up for the official government alert system. And you'll see another slide here in a little bit. The ones you need to opt into, this is where you gain information about them. You learn about Nixle, official warning systems, that's where you need to go to. The wireless emergency alert, the emergency alert system, you don't opt into that. So now we go from before. Go ahead.
Yeah, Marshall, we lost you for a couple of sentences there.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't say anything bad about the County of Sonoma. It was go to this website to learn about the official government alert and warning systems. So does that come across, Priscilla?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. All right, so now we go probably to the stuff you guys want to know about. So the initial stages of an incident. You got to remember, this is very chaotic. Even the responders may not know the situation. They may not know the facts. So government in general doesn't want to release information that's not factual. They don't want bad information getting out there because it's so hard to rescind it or get that back. And people might make decisions based off bad information. So this is a very chaotic period. This is where I might say that, hey, the facts are we got a 20-acre grass fire that's burning towards Fitch Mountain. This is all simulated. I'm not going to say something like Fitch Mountain's on fire, or we're not going to stop the fire before it gets to Fitch Mountain, because I don't know the facts. I'm just going to give you what I know right now, and that's maybe what I'll tell you. If you ask me, I'll text it to you, and that's what I'm also going to say on the radio. So how you're going to get information during these initial stages is, I'll talk about Pulse Point real quick. I probably won't go to their website, but Pulse Point, will give you notifications about all emergencies. I got to be very careful saying it always will, because I'll talk about yesterday on Ida Clayton where it didn't. You also have the mountaintop cameras, the alert wildfire cameras, which are a great resource. You have Watch Duty, which is a great app, but it's not going to notify you of every emergency. It's going to wait till their criteria that it warrants them notifying you. And you also got to opt in on Watch Duty as well as Pulse Point. And then eventually you can go to agency websites. So I'm not going to go to the Pulse Point website, but everyone that's interested or wants to be notified of all emergencies in the County of Sonoma, you would go to Pulse Point. Some people, they don't want to be notified of every emergency, so they either don't have this app on their phone or they go in and adjust settings. So a lot of these apps have settings. So yesterday was an example of a situation where it won't. There's these fluke situations that happen in Sonoma counties, and it happens everywhere. It's not unique to Sonoma County. So yesterday's vegetation fire on Ida Clayton Road was initially dispatched as a Lake County fire on Western Mine Road. So it didn't go into Redcom's system, at least not initially. So it was a Lake County incident. Well, they got up to the county line and figured it out. It was in Sonoma County. So then Lake County tells Sonoma County Redcom, hey, the fire's in your county. Redcom puts it into their dispatch system, and then you guys probably saw the Pulse Point. I don't know how it went in every one of your situations, but that's how you weren't notified right away that there was a vegetation fire in Ida Clayton Road, because it was reported to be in Lake County. Another scenario is a fire gets called in as someone says, hey, I think I see smoke. The call gets put in as a smoke check. You may get the Pulse Point notification for it, and then somewhere it changes to a vegetation fire. And what we're finding is not all the time does the pulse point then re-update you guys that it's now a vegetation fire. And then there's situations like in Cloverdale, Hunter Park, that are not part of Redcom. They'll eventually get into pulse point, but it takes a little bit of time. So pulse point as a great tool. If you want to know about every incident or get as many notifications as you can about new incidents, go to pulse point. Just know that there's also limitations, or there's also a little bit of nuances. The alert wildfire cameras, then, if it's a vegetation fire, and I got to clarify, these cameras by themselves don't detect fires. And even when they do detect fires, it still takes a human action to notify, to get the dispatch out. So they're can be used for multiple things. I'm going to sell them here as they can be used by you to know where the fire's burning, or is it a legitimate fire, or hey, are the firefighters, there's no smoke now, are they getting the fire put out? So they do detect fires by some software that then sends notifications, but still someone's got to take an action to look at the camera, and then notify the fire department, call 911. So a little weird story here. I told Lance about this. I was putting this PowerPoint together on Saturday. I'm working on this slide. I'm making sure all my links work. And that's when I saw the fire on Chemise Road. So it's just weird. It hadn't notified anybody, hadn't, told anybody where the fire's exactly at. No one actually called that fire in for quite a long time. It just happened to be that I was looking at the cameras to work on this PowerPoint and I saw the fire. So that's, the cameras are great. They hopefully will end up with to be able to do detection, but they're not there quite yet. So my thing for you is look at what the smoke is doing. Look at what the fire's doing. So this is a fire off Reebley Road back on June 11th. This is the Barham camera. It's aimed at the fire, so you can see the tanker drop. This is an air tanker. The red is the retardant. All good stuff, but look at what the smoke is doing. This is telling you the fire wants to burn from the east to the west. So remember, if there's smoke going over your house, over your location, that's telling you generally where the fire wants to go. Fire wants to burn uphill or wants to be pushed by the wind. So if you're over in this area, you're in a relatively safe area. I'd definitely be prepared. Winds can shift, things can happen, but you're in a relatively safe area. You're over here, you should start being concerned. You should start getting ready. Make sure you already should have your go bag ready and that type of thing, but you just need to get one step closer to evacuating. If you do decide to evacuate, remember, we want to be orderly. There's firefighters maybe trying to gain access, but you might gain yourself another 5 minutes as far as being able to gather stuff, get your animals before an official notification like SoCo alert comes through, or a sheriff deputy goes door to door. This might buy you a little bit of time. Now, if you see the smoke going straight up and it's like small down at the base of it, that's a fire that's not influenced by the wind. We are generally good at putting those types of fires out. The jumping ahead on this fire with the air tankers and everything else, this fire was contained at about 4 acres. But the big thing here about these cameras for people that are watching is look at where the smoke's going, look at the amount of smoke. And if you have a bunch of smoke over your head or going towards your direction, that's when you should start getting officially notified. I skipped ahead there to the next. I think everyone's aware of watch duty. It's going to take a little bit once a fire gets going, once an emergency gets going, before watch duty is going to start posting information. But very simple. It's basically people listening to scanners and posting what firefighters and other people say on the scanner. So they don't firsthand know the knowledge, but they're going off the assumption that if someone on the radio is saying something, it's a fact. So just know that. They're very cautious. They try to verify, but they're not going to post about a fire that's 2 feet by 2 feet and out when the firefighters get there. So they're also watching that they're not causing notification fatigue or unnecessary anxiety. So watch duty, 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 to 10, maybe take a while, They want to verify it's a legitimate fire that bears people paying attention to. They're also putting prescribed burns on watch duty. And the thing about watch duty is, yeah, you can use it on your phone, but you can also run it on your desktop computer, which is very valuable. They've also gone statewide, and you can get notifications for fires outside Sonoma County as well. Now, as the incident goes on, 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, all the systems start working. Everything starts building up. The EOC opens, things happen, you can start getting information. So I already gave the plug to the County of Sonoma's website, which is great. So I'm going to save this plug for the COPE Northern Sonoma County. This is where Priscilla and the web designer have put a lot of the information here. So it has some of the stuff I talked about in this presentation. And it also has air quality information, windy, and things like that. So it's really good once an incident gets going, once a command system gets put in place. So where I'm going to go from here and wrapping up this presentation is talking about some scenarios. And I'm going to try to explain this. I was trying to put a timeline together, a graphic to help you guys understand it. And this is ultimately what I ended up doing. Remember, government wants to communicate the facts. Generally, facts increase with time as we understand the incident, get all eyes on it, get the aircraft in there. People, we see what's happening once the smoke clears. Because we want to get the facts verified, there could be a delay in the communication process. And then sometimes we get conflicting facts based upon the dynamic situation we're in and when the information is released. So, we've seen this where one agency releases a nixle stating a fact that was true at 10 a.m., but their nixle doesn't go out to 11 a.m., and then another nixle goes out at 1 p.m. And so it keeps causing confusion. What exactly are the facts now? Not intended, not intentional, it just happens. Or KSRO keeps saying the same thing over and over again because they haven't gotten an update and the situation's changed. So those things happen. So what I was trying to show here, this is when the incident starts. As time goes on, our facts increase. So this triangle, this red, is the amount of information, the amount of facts. They increase. Up here and in this area is how you guys can get those facts, how you're made aware of them. And so when an incident starts, you're pretty limited. We're not going to have an EOC activated unless we know we're in red flag and we expect a bunch of fires. The 911 call takers are taking a bunch of calls about the emergency. They're not going to have time to put out a nixle, perhaps. The first responders are trying to figure out what's going on. They don't have time to put information out. So we really have the alert wildfire, the pulse point, or if you guys want to listen to the scanner. Now, if you guys are there, first-hand witnesses, yeah, you're going to know the facts, how you communicate those, maybe texting people, calling people, whatever it might be, but you're pretty limited right here in the very beginning. Now, as time goes on, other things come into play. Firefighters, deputies going door to door for notifications, high-low sirens get put into place. Watch duty meets the threshold. They're going to post about it. Okay, then we're going to get some of the official government systems going. We're going to get SOCO alert. We're going to get Nixle. Radio stations are coming on board. Emergency alert system, the wireless emergency alert, NOAA radio. Eventually, and I'm talking about the printed newspaper. And then we're going to have press conferences. And so that's kind of how it ramps up. And probably by about somewhere in here, you're getting enough information. Or you feel like you're getting information. You may not be getting the detailed information you want, but there's a system in place. And so that's where with Supervisor Gore, I was filling that niche about trying to give you guys detailed information when we got up in this category. And I've also heard some concerns about the press conferences where the first 5 minutes is talking about how great all the agencies are when people just want to know the facts. So I know those are not hitting the target when you guys need the information the most. So that's what's together to try to explain this. So, a scenario might be that there's a wildfire greater than 10 miles, or we could say it's not in your COPE community. It's other side of the county. Maybe you're in Northeast Kaiserville and it's in Mill Creek, or vice versa. The reality is, and you guys are seeing this with watch duty and everything else, that we're most likely going to contain it in the initial stages before it reaches your community. or by the time it reaches your community, we should have some of those systems in place to provide you notification. So I guess what I'm saying is there's no real need for you to get in your car, for you to call somebody, for you to go over and try to find the emergency, try to get first-hand information, or try to do. Got to trust that the system's going to work. Take appropriate action as far as maybe letting your community know, that type of thing. But please trust that, we are going to try to, our goal, we know it's coming your way. If we're not going to contain it, we're going to know it real quickly of the Cascade fire. We're going to get the word out. So the fire that's not right in your community, we have time on our side, and that time gives us the ability to put systems in place, like getting NIXL going, getting SOCO alert going, getting KSRO, watch duty. I would trust those systems versus trying to go get the information yourself. And no, remember, there's going to be conflicting information. So that's kind of where I see your role in this position is let those systems inform you, let those systems play out, rather than trying to go over there and try to get involved or try to figure out information yourself, or even think you need to take action right away, creating unnecessary maybe stress on your community. Trust the system. You can let your residents know, hey, we know about a fire, pay attention on watch duty. There's no action we need to take right away. Just be heads up or step up your level of preparedness a little bit. And remember, if someone calls me and asks about evacuating, I'm going to say yes, because if you're asking me, you're thinking about it, and I want you to be safe. So, if you put me on that spot, that's what I'm going to tell you. So, but otherwise, kind of being more of a monitor mode, heightened awareness mode. This is the worst case scenario. This is the wildfire in your community. There's no time to get the systems going. There's really no time to get good facts. It's very dynamic. And so you as a resident, you as a community are going to need to make decisions not knowing all the facts, just like firefighters are doing that. Still, most likely, we're going to get it contained, a couple acres, quarter acre. We're still pretty darn successful, especially when we can get to the emergency, get to the fire, because the roads, usually around homes too, people give us good access information. We're still going to be successful, but we need to prepare for the worst case, that the emergency, unfortunately, will already have burned through your community before any of those press conferences, anything official gets put in place. So you're going to be relying on watch duty. You're going to be relying upon, maybe Pulse Point gave you the initial notification, the alert wildfire. You're going to have to use those alternative methods because it's going to take a while for the government systems to get up and going. And just know that those alternative systems are not official, but they're just you to get intel. And with that, this is pretty much the end of the presentation, Priscilla. Maybe you or I can answer questions. Hopefully this was helpful, but I tried to put it in some type of a way to understand this. And this is I was trying to do fancy things like this. I eventually gave up, and that's why I went to this. So with that, and sorry about my internet today, but I'll turn it back over to you, Priscilla.